We had been married for 7 years, yet my wife and I still didn't have children. At first, she said she wanted to enjoy our time as a couple. Then, she claimed she wasn't ready to be a mother. Finally, the excuse shifted to focusing on her career while we were young so we could provide a better life for our future family. It wasn't until our 7th wedding anniversary when I stumbled upon a pregnancy test and a paternity DNA report naming her first love as the father that I finally understood. Her plans never included me. The moment I learned the truth, my heart turned to stone. I let out a self-deprecating laugh and contacted a lawyer to draft a divorce agreement. I had just received the draft from the attorney when Paige Sterling returned home. She wore a faint, almost giddy smile, but the moment she saw me, her posture stiffened and the smile froze on her face. "Why are you home? Didn't you go to work?" I wasn't feeling well, so I came back early. Paige walked closer, looked me up and down, and scoffed. "What is this? You've learned to feign illness to slack off now? Look at you. Your color is good. You look strong. You don't look sick at all." She crossed her arms. "Mason, my father fought against the board to make you vice president of Sterling Enterprises because he wanted you to help me manage the company, not to be a figurehead who plays hooky." She glanced around the living room, frowning in disgust. "And if you're going to come home, couldn't you at least cook? You made the house a mess. What are you even doing?" I looked up, meeting her gaze with a blank expression. "What about you? Where have you been for the past 2 days?" A flicker of panic crossed her face, but she doubled down. "Do I need to report my whereabouts to you now?" I gave a bitter smile and nodded. "Right, no need. But even if you don't say it, I know. You were with Wes." Paige decided to stop hiding it. "Yes, it was with Wes. His health is poor, and he doesn't have other friends. What is wrong with me keeping him company? I didn't tell you because I knew you'd overthink it." I nodded slowly. "So I should thank you? My wife goes behind my back to be with another man, all out of consideration for my feelings." Paige heard the sarcasm in my voice, and her expression darkened. "Mason, can you fix this toxic trait of yours? He's a sick man. Is it really necessary to keep score with a patient? It's incredibly pathetic for a grown man to be this jealous. Be a little more open-minded and stop being so dramatic." I was stunned, once again floored by Paige's shamelessness. "So, according to your logic, I should just watch my wife get cozy with another man day in and day out and be happy about being made a cuckold?" "Mason," Paige roared, "stop talking nonsense. I'm telling you, there is nothing going on between Wes and me. And even if there were, it wouldn't be your place to discuss it. If we wanted to be together, we would have been together ages ago. You wouldn't even be in the picture." My heart trembled. So, in Paige's eyes, I was that insignificant. I thought I had given up after discovering her betrayal. Yet her words still had the power to hurt me. I took a deep breath, suppressing the bitterness in my chest. I turned, walked to the printer, retrieved the divorce agreement, and handed it to her. Paige saw the title, and her eyes went wide with disbelief. You want to divorce me?" I nodded firmly. "Yes, divorce. Are you crazy? Divorce me? Do you dare? Can you even bear to lose me?" I couldn't blame Paige for her shock. I only blamed myself for loving her so much that she felt entitled to question my resolve. I loved her. I loved her deeply. She knew it, and I knew it. But now I was tired. I couldn't love her anymore. Seeing my silence, the corner of her mouth lifted in a disdainful smirk. "Mason, playing hard to get? This passive-aggressive tactic won't work on me. I suggest you behave yourself and do your job. I'll continue to let you be the envy of everyone as Vice President Cole." With that, she tossed the divorce agreement into the air and turned to leave, walking away with a confident stride. The moment Paige left, I received a text from Wes Chambers. "People should know their place. What isn't yours will never be yours. So what if you're married? The person in her heart has always been me. As long as I say the word, she will pay any price to fulfill my wishes." In the past, Wes's taunting messages would devastate me. I had asked Paige more than once why she treated me this way, and she would only say dismissively, "He's sick. Why do you have to argue with a sick person?" Between Wes and me, she always stood by him, using that same excuse to dismiss me. Eventually, I stopped asking. That night, she didn't come home. I didn't sleep. The next afternoon, I received a call from Paige. Her tone was flat, as if yesterday's confrontation hadn't happened. "Today is Wes's birthday. I'll send you the address. Come over immediately after work. If he hadn't specifically invited you, I wouldn't want you there embarrassing me." She hung up immediately. I looked at the 7-second call duration on the screen and found it almost funny. She didn't remember our wedding anniversary or anything related to me, really. But when it came to Wes, she remembered every detail, big or small, and arranged everything perfectly. I ignored her message and continued working. Even though I had decided to divorce, I needed to finish my work before leaving. That was the promise I had made to others. I didn't know how much time had passed when the phone rang again. Paige's irritable voice came through. Mason, what are you doing? Why aren't you here yet? Don't tell me you're still busy at the office, trying to impress me. Pick a better time and place. Do you know how humiliating it is to have everyone waiting on you? I spoke unhurriedly. Didn't you say you didn't want me there embarrassing you? Why are you in such a rush for me to come now? Paige choked on her words, her heavy breathing betraying her effort to suppress her rage. Mason, I know our anniversary was a few days ago. I was too busy to accompany you, and you're emotional. But right now it's Wes's birthday. A whole group of us are waiting for you. I expect you to come immediately. Don't make this awkward for everyone. I paused. She hadn't forgotten our anniversary. She just didn't care. Fine, I'll go. Come pick me up. The moment I said it, she exploded. Mason, don't push your luck. I'm giving you an out. Take it. Do you really think you're some VIP? I gave a faint hum. Oh, forget it then. I'm going home. You guys have fun. Silence for a few seconds. Then I heard Paige gritting her teeth. Wait there. I'll be there soon. After hanging up, I couldn't help but marvel at how far Paige would go. To make Wes happy, she would stoop to this. 20 minutes later, I walked slowly downstairs. Paige saw me, rolled her eyes, and signaled for me to get in the car. I knew what she was afraid of. We had been married for years, but few people knew we were husband and wife. Initially, she said it was to protect me, so people wouldn't say I climbed the ladder by sleeping with the boss's daughter. Back then, I thought she loved me. Later, I realized she just looked down on me. That way, if she was seen getting close to Wes, no one would gossip. It was a way to protect Wes. I opened the back door and slid in. As soon as I closed the door, she questioned me coldly from the driver's seat. What's the meaning of this? Am I your chauffeur? I met her annoyed gaze in the rearview mirror, then glanced at the passenger seat. There was a custom decal on the dashboard, Wes's priority seat. Hearing my silence, she subconsciously looked at the seat next to her, embarrassment flashing across her face. Cough, cough. Paige cleared her throat lightly. His illness relapsed a while ago. To cheer him up, I just went along with it. Why do you have to care about these things? I changed the subject. Just drive. Careful someone sees you. Paige, startled by the reminder, quickly started the car. I knew Wes had given her this car before we got married. It was her favorite. I didn't know that initially. Once, after we were married, my car was in the shop, and I drove hers in an emergency. I wasn't used to it and scratched the bumper slightly. I got it fixed and brought it back. When she saw I had moved her car, she cursed me out. When she found a repair mark, she slapped me. That was when I learned what this car meant to her. Since then, I had never touched it. This was only the second time in 7 years I had sat in it. When we arrived, we got out together. I walked behind her and saw her frantically texting someone. I quickened my pace and, using my height advantage, glanced at her screen. I froze. She was chatting with a car detailing service, scheduling a comprehensive deep clean and sterilization for tomorrow morning. She specifically emphasized sanitizing the back seat. In an instant, my legs felt like lead. I couldn't take a step. A humiliation unlike anything I'd felt before wrapped around me. I just stared blankly as she walked away. I composed myself and pushed open the door. The lively private dining room went instantly quiet. Someone broke the silence first. Well, if it isn't VP Cole. A busy man, truly hard to invite. Wes stood up, smiling as if to smooth things over for me. Mason must have been busy with work. That's why he's late. Everyone don't mind it. He invited me to sit, acting the part of the gracious host. But the seat left for me was directly opposite the two of them. After the food was served, I ate a few bites and lost my appetite. Just then, a waiter knocked, announcing the cake had arrived. The group moved to the lounge area. Amidst applause and birthday wishes, Wes made a wish. I hope my health recovers soon, so I can be with the person I love. He blew out the candles and invited Paige to cut the cake with him. Their hands clasped together over the knife as they made the first cut. At the same time, Wes shot me a smug look. I remained expressionless, completely indifferent to his provocation. After cutting the cake, Wes brought the first slice over to me. Mason, I'm so happy you could come to my birthday party. He held out the plate, but just as I reached for it, he let go. The cake splattered onto the floor. He let out a dramatic gasp. Mason, if you don't like cake, just say so. Why did you have to do that? Do you dislike the cake? Or do you dislike me? Hearing the commotion, everyone turned to look. Wes turned his head, eyes red and voice trembling with grievance. Paige, does Mason hate me? He knocked my cake over. Without a word, Paige charged at me with the slice she was holding. She smashed the cake directly onto my chest, then took Wes's hand, comforting him gently. Don't cry. Your health is delicate. Don't pay attention to him. She glared at me viciously, then led Wes to sit on the sofa. The others looked at me with expressions of pure disgust. I turned and walked out to the restroom to clean my clothes. When I returned, I stopped at the door, hearing Paige's voice inside. "It's okay, don't be sad. When he comes back, I'll make him apologize to you, okay?" Someone asked in confusion. "Paige, I still don't get it. Why did your father insist you marry him? Aside from being healthier than Wes, how does he compare to Wes in any way?" Someone else chimed in. "I think Mr. Sterling knew his time was short. He wanted to see Paige married and have someone to take care of her before he passed. So he let her marry him." Wes sighed. "I blame my weak body. If I hadn't gone abroad, maybe now." He trailed off, but the implication was clear. The woman who spoke first added, "Paige, we all know you two still love each other. Why don't you just kick him to the curb so you two can be together?" Paige didn't answer immediately. She just gently touched Wes's face. "Focus on getting well. Once you're healthy, I'll agree to whatever you want." Her words were a tacit admission that she wanted the same thing, to dump me and be with Wes as soon as possible. I let out a self-mocking laugh and turned to leave. Back home, I started packing my things. I had just finished when Paige returned. She paused when she saw the suitcase. "It's late. Why are you packing?" She tossed a small box at me. "Your belated anniversary gift. Make time tomorrow to apologize to Wes. Stop making him sad." "You found it here. Why should I apologize? You knocked over the cake and humiliated him in public, then left without a word. It's incredibly disrespectful. Shouldn't you apologize for those two things?" I didn't answer. I opened the box. It was a blue and white tie. I laughed out loud. If I hadn't seen this tie on Wes's social media, I might have been happy. After hanging up on her this afternoon, I had scrolled through Wes's feed. He thanked Paige for taking him shopping and buying him a bespoke suit. This tie was the free gift with purchase. Paige was giving me the freebie Wes didn't want, expecting me to be grateful. I threw the box back. I don't want it. Then, under Paige's stunned gaze, I placed the signed divorce agreement on the table and walked out the door with my suitcase. Perhaps this was the one time Paige and I were truly in sync. We both wanted a divorce. For the next 2 days, Paige went silent. She didn't come to the office. It gave me time to hand over my work and extricate myself smoothly. On the afternoon of the second day, I received a call from Paige's mother, Eleanor Sterling. On the phone, she sighed repeatedly, saying she had dreamed of her late husband, Arthur Sterling, again. Mention of Arthur brought a wave of sadness to my heart. "Mason, come home tonight. Let's have a family dinner." I thought about it and agreed. I could guess why Eleanor was calling me back, but out of respect for Arthur, I had to go. When I arrived at the Sterling estate, only Eleanor was there. Seeing me, she stood up with a smile to welcome me. "Mason is here. Come, sit." Her smile was kind, like a true mother. After chatting for a while, Paige returned. But she wasn't alone. She brought Wes. I noticed a fleeting look of disgust in Eleanor's eyes when she saw him. "Mom, I'm back," Paige announced. "You said the house was too quiet, so I brought Wes. More people, more liveliness." Eleanor smiled and nodded, playing along. Yes, more lively." Paige shifted her gaze to me and sneered lightly. "I thought you had a backbone. Why are you here?" Eleanor shot Paige a warning look. "Paige, how are you speaking to Mason? Husbands and wives should be tolerant of each other. Stop bullying him." "How would I dare bully him? He's so capable now. He even knows how to run away from home." Hearing this, Eleanor looked at me in surprise, her eyes darting as she made a guess at the situation. At the dinner table, Eleanor brought up Arthur. She rambled on, the gist being that I shouldn't forget Arthur's kindness and that I should hurry up and have a child with Paige to continue the family line. She framed it as the family line because I was an orphan. Yes, I was one of the orphans sponsored by Arthur Sterling. I received his grace, and after graduating college, I relied on my own merits to enter Sterling Enterprises before daring to meet him to repay my debt. Arthur favored me, giving me many opportunities to prove myself. I spent 4 years climbing from the bottom to middle management. I thought I would have time and opportunity to repay him, but fate is cruel. Arthur fell ill. Cancer. Even though it was caught at an intermediate stage, drugs and chemotherapy only bought him 2 years. During those 2 years, he watched over Paige and me every day, making us learn how to manage the company. 6 months before he died, he asked Paige and me to marry, wanting me to support her in running the business. Paige refused. Although I liked her, I wouldn't force her to do something she didn't want. So, I also declined Arthur's proposal. Later, Arthur called Paige into his study, and they talked all night. I don't know what the father and daughter discussed, but the next day, Paige agreed. We got our marriage license, and less than 6 months later, Arthur passed away. Before he left, he pushed me into the position of VP. Since then, I was the vice president of Sterling Enterprises by day and Paige's secret husband by night. In the second year of our marriage, Eleanor started urging us to have a child. But Paige was always reluctant, citing various reasons and plans. I always cooperated, doing my best to mediate between her and her mother. In the fourth year of our marriage, Wes returned. He was Paige's first love. They grew up together. Their families were of equal status, and there was even an unspoken engagement. But Wes's mother died when he was 9. Her side of the family had a history of genetic illness, with many dying young. The year after his mother died, his father remarried. The following year, he had a half-brother, and Wes became the spare. The year he graduated high school, his father died in a plane crash. His stepmother quickly seized the family assets and kicked him out. Already in poor health, Wes had to drag his sick body abroad to stay with an aunt. They lost contact after that. After Wes returned, Paige no longer hid her disdain and hatred for me. I endured 3 hard years under her cold shoulder. Last Thanksgiving, we sat together for a family meal. Eleanor started her usual lecture about grandchildren, and Paige stormed out. Eleanor turned her target to me. You've been married 6 or 7 years. Why are there no children? Is there something physically wrong with one of you? I paused, understanding her implication. As an orphan, I desperately wanted a family of my own. I wanted a child. I had planned to take Paige for a checkup after our anniversary, but she hadn't come home those days. Later, I went for a checkup myself. I was perfectly healthy. As I was leaving the hospital, I ran into an old friend, Dr. Lucas Bennett. Like me, he was an orphan sponsored by Arthur Sterling. He had gone into medicine and worked at that hospital. As someone who grew up in the same program, he knew about Paige and me. Seeing me, he smiled and teased. Long time no see. Are you here accompanying the wife for her prenatal checkup? I latched onto the keywords instantly. What prenatal checkup? Lucas saw my confusion and clarified. Isn't Paige pregnant? You didn't know? Hearing this, a joy unlike anything I'd ever felt burst forth in my eyes. I thought fate was finally smiling on me. I had just been wondering when we would have a child, and suddenly my wish had come true. I said goodbye to my friend and rushed home. I planned to clean the house thoroughly and cook her favorite dishes to celebrate. While I was cleaning, I found 2 medical reports. One was Paige's pregnancy confirmation. The other was a paternity DNA test. The father listed was Wesley Chambers. Back at the dinner table, Eleanor was still rambling when I interrupted her. Mom, she's already pregnant. The 3 people at the table froze. Eleanor went from shock to joy. Really? Daughter, you're pregnant? Paige ignored her mother and looked at me in shock. How do you know? I smiled. Shouldn't I know? Or were you planning to keep it from us until the baby was born? Her lips moved, but she said nothing. Beside her, Wes sat up straighter, craning his neck to look at me with a smug expression. Eleanor seemed to sense something was wrong. She asked coldly, what are you talking about? Are you hiding something from me? I didn't speak. I took out the divorce agreement in front of Eleanor and handed it to Paige. Sign it. Since we're here, let's put everything on the table. Eleanor stood up and rushed to Paige's side to look. Divorce agreement? Mason, what are you doing? Why do you want a divorce all of a sudden? I looked at her and spoke calmly. Mom, or perhaps this is the last time I'll call you that. As for why I'm divorcing, you should ask your daughter. Paige, what did you do? Eleanor asked nervously. Paige glanced at her mother, then at me. Mason, why do you have to make this so ugly? Yes, I'm pregnant with Wes's child. So what? His health is failing. I asked the doctor. Only the cord blood or marrow from a blood relative can save him. His parents are gone. Now that there's a chance to save him, how could I let it slip away? At these words, Eleanor glared viciously at Wes. The look in her eyes could have devoured him. All her usual gentleness was gone. The Sterling and Chambers families had been friends for years, but with Arthur gone and Wes's stepmother controlling the Chambers estate, that relationship had soured. More importantly, Wes was sickly. Eleanor would never allow Paige to be with him. She knew this, and Paige knew it too. That was why Paige had acted first, trying to force the situation, but she hadn't expected someone to expose it right in front of her mother. Naturally, Eleanor wouldn't blame her own daughter. She would direct all her fury at Wes. It was a chain reaction, sparing no one. I looked at Paige, who wore a mask of determination, and nodded appreciatively. Yes, I know you're eager to save a life, but that doesn't affect my decision to divorce. Sign the papers, and we're done. You can save whoever you want, carry whoever's child you want. It's all up to you. Mason, don't go too far. Paige slammed her hand on the table, roaring. Do you really think I won't divorce you? Think clearly. Divorce me, and you walk away with nothing. You're getting older. Who else would want a penniless nobody like you except me? Her words made me laugh. She really thought she was some prize everyone was fighting over. I was barely over 30, able-bodied, with experience and skill. Was I worried about finding a job to support myself? Are you finished? I asked her. If you're finished, sign. You talked so much I almost thought you couldn't bear to let me go. You. Paige was speechless. Whether from anger or something else, her face turned red. Paige, Mason, calm down. Divorce isn't a small matter. Don't be impulsive. Let's sit down and talk. Eleanor pleaded, nearly in tears. She knew if I divorced Paige, Paige would definitely get together with Wes. With Wes's fragile health, 3 steps and he's panting, 2 steps and he's coughing, let alone managing the company. He couldn't even take care of Paige. It would be a disaster if she had a sickly child with him. She was terrified of us divorcing. Paige, Mason is probably just upset about the baby. Just get an abortion. Paige whipped her head around to look at her mother. Mom, what are you saying? How can I abort the baby? This is the only chance to save Wes. So, just sign the papers. Sign them, and it's over. I interjected. You think I won't? Paige stared daggers at me. I'm giving you a chance. Don't be ungrateful. I shook my head. No need. Sign quickly. Fine. Don't regret this. She picked up the pen and signed her name on the line. For people, 3 expressions. Eleanor was crying. Paige was angry, while Wes and I were smiling happily. After leaving the Sterling estate, I went straight to the mall. I bought myself a new wardrobe and went to a spa for a full-body massage. Since marrying Paige, I hadn't relaxed for a single day in over 7 years. For her, and to fulfill Arthur's request, I had poured my heart and soul into Sterling Enterprises. Back then, I thought if I did well enough, she would see me. She would be happy. Until once, when Wes texted to taunt me, he said, "You work so hard, but what's the use? I only need 1 sentence, and she will negate everything you are." I didn't believe it then. But result after tragic result, and the fact of Paige's bias proved Wes right. But starting today, I no longer had to carry anyone else's expectations or responsibilities. I could finally be happy and do whatever I wanted. After pampering myself, I went home and slept soundly. Early the next morning, I got dressed and called Paige. She answered almost instantly, her light laugh coming through the receiver. What? Couldn't even last one night before contacting me. Mason, as long as you're good, stop throwing tantrums and don't stop me from having this baby to save Wes. I'll forgive you. I'll pretend the divorce talk never happened. You can still be VP Cole, the son-in-law everyone envies. She rambled on, seemingly convinced she had me under her thumb. Hey, are you listening to me? I hummed a response and asked, are you done? You seem to be enjoying your monologue. I didn't want to interrupt. What do you mean? Paige asked. If you're done, it's my turn. I made an appointment at the courthouse. Since we both have time today, let's go. Before I finished, I heard Paige scream, Mason, ask yourself again, do you really want to divorce me? I ignored her shouting and continued. 1 hour? If I don't see you at the courthouse entrance, I'll sue. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I have plenty of evidence. If we go to court, I guarantee I can make you and the Sterling family a laughingstock from here to the Pacific. And all this evidence was personally delivered to me by your little lover boy, Wes. I hung up. I waited at the courthouse entrance for an hour before Paige finally arrived, dragging her feet, with Wes trailing behind her. Paige's hair was messy. She was wearing yesterday's clothes, and her makeup was smudged. She looked terrible. In contrast, I was well-rested, fed, and dressed sharply. She stared at me, stunned. Why are you dressed so flamboyantly? Are you that happy to divorce me? I looked down at myself, clean, casual clothes and sneakers, far from flamboyant. But realizing that for 7 years, I had always worn stiff business suits, this casual, boy-next-door look was indeed rare for me. I laughed lightly. Just because you didn't dress up doesn't mean I'm flamboyant. I used to dress formally for the company, but this is who I am in private. Let's go in. A person who has never even seen my real self certainly isn't fit to be my wife. I turned and walked into the building first. The divorce went smoothly. The moment I held the decree, I finally let out a breath I'd been holding for years. The world seemed brighter. Outside, Paige glared at me with hatred. Mason, you've wasted your last chance. I'll wait for the day you regret this and come crying back to beg me. Wes held her hand, soothing her. Paige, don't be angry. He wasn't good enough for you anyway. We'll just watch him fail. Paige shook off Wes's hand and strode away without giving him a second glance. Wes looked confused, but in front of me, he kept up his smug act. Look at you. Wouldn't it have been better to accept reality and leave earlier? Now you've been kicked to the curb. Happy. I chuckled, watching Paige's retreating back. She doesn't seem to love you all that much either. Otherwise, she would have dragged you in there to get a marriage license right on the spot. Wes choked, his smile freezing. Finally, he retorted dryly, Paige and I will be together sooner or later. He turned and walked away. Seeing the two of them deflated gave me immense satisfaction. From the courthouse, I went straight to the company. I submitted my resignation to the board, then returned to my office to pack. I had just finished when Paige rushed in. She looked just as disheveled as she had that morning. A tragic sight. Mason, who allowed you to resign? I do not consent to this. Her outburst drew the attention of other employees who gathered around. Do I need your consent? Approval from 2/3 of the board is enough, I said airily. Paige completely broke down. I don't agree. You promised my dad you would stay at Sterling Enterprises to help me. You can't go back on your word. Facing her hysteria, I remained perfectly calm. First, I made that promise to Arthur, not you. Second, my agreement with Arthur was for 10 years. I've been with the company for 11. The term has expired. Finally, this is a formal resignation. If you try to force me to stay, I won't hesitate to call the police and file a labor dispute. Paige stared at me blankly. Mason, do you hate me that much? You want to get rid of me that badly? I nodded. Yes. Looking at you now is like looking at garbage on the side of the road, rotting and stinking, surrounded by buzzing flies. Hearing my words, the colleague standing behind Paige subconsciously took a few steps back. This seemed to be the final blow. Her lips trembled, but no words came out. She covered her mouth and ran out crying. One of the bolder onlookers stepped up. Mr. Cole, are you really leaving? I nodded. Did you have a fight with Ms. Sterling? It seemed a bit. Indeed, my image at the company had always been strict but gentle, polite, and measured. The staff had a good impression of me. They had never seen me lose my temper, let alone use such harsh language. I smiled without speaking and walked out holding my box. After a few steps, I heard someone call out behind me, Mr. Cole, you dropped something. I looked back. It was the divorce decree. It had fallen open, and the contents were visible. The look in everyone's eyes instantly turned to gossip, but thinking of Paige and Wes's usual behavior, their gazes shifted to sympathy. I picked it up with a poker face. All right, everyone back to work. I'll come back to visit if I have the chance. I turned and left. Whispers floated into my ears, but I just smiled and ignored them. After all, facts are facts. After leaving, I let myself go completely. First, I booked a ticket to France. When Paige and I first married, she promised we would go to Paris for a honeymoon when we had time. But we were both too busy, and those words stayed buried in my heart. Now that I was here alone, looking at the so-called city of love, it didn't seem like much. I traveled for 2 months. When I had my fill, I returned. Back home, I started a boutique firm with a former business partner. Having relaxed for so long, getting back into the work rhythm was a bit of an adjustment. The company wasn't big, just over 10 people. I saw Paige and Wes again at a gala. They were arm in arm, intimate, putting on a show of great affection for the crowd. Paige was showing. Her baby bump was visible, but she looked more exhausted than glowing. I had no intention of interacting with them, but Wes looked at me as if he'd found a new toy. Mason, long time no see. Didn't expect to see you here. I looked up, meeting his smug, gloating expression. Beside him, Paige noticed me and quickly let go of Wes's arm. Wes leaned in, lowering his voice. Paige and I got our marriage license. Mrs. Sterling has accepted me and the baby. I'm officially the Sterling son-in-law. Once the baby is born and I'm cured, the entire Sterling fortune and Paige will be mine. I nodded knowingly. Congratulations. You got what you wanted. He paused, incredulous. It was as if the things he was bragging about were meaningless to me. I heard you open some broken-down little company, planning to compete with Sterling Enterprises? Before I could speak, a woman with a striking figure appeared beside me. She wore a red dress and immaculate makeup, swirling a glass of red wine nonchalantly. Does Mr. Chambers have a problem with our company? Wes looked at the newcomer and subconsciously took a step back. Ms. Vance, you. Victoria Torrey. Vance was my partner. She was young, but she was the only daughter of the Vance dynasty, doted on by her powerful family. Although our company was small, it was backed by the Vance fortune. Furthermore, every one of our 10 employees was an elite capable of running a department on their own. Clearly, Wes only knew I started a small company, not the reality of its power. Mr. Chambers, focus on being a good trophy husband. Be careful what you say, or else. Torrey's warning was crystal clear. Wes nodded repeatedly and stepped back, hiding behind Paige. Paige didn't say a word the whole time, just stared at me intently. That night, after the gala, I received a call from an unknown number. When did you get involved with her? It was Paige. Are you sick? What are you talking about? I snapped. Paige laughed loudly on the other end. Mason, I thought you had so much backbone asking for a divorce. Turns out you just found yourself a new sugar mama. Mason, you're disgusting. I scoffed. Why don't you check who the decision maker in our company is before you speak? And even if I were sugar baby, she's better than you. At least she has a brain. I hung up. In the middle of the night, while I was sleeping soundly, I was woken by frantic pounding on my door. Rubbing my eyes, grumpy from being woken up, I went to answer it. I thought it was some drunk, but when I opened the door, it was Paige's best friend, Linda. Seeing me, she looked anxious. Mason, come with me to the hospital quickly. Something happened to Paige. I shook off her hand. Are you okay? What does her accident have to do with me? You should be looking for Wes. I moved to close the door, but Linda blocked it, pleading, Mason, don't be like this. Paige drank too much and fell. She might miss Scary. She keeps calling your name. I beg you, just go see her. For the sake of the years you were married. For the fact that you once loved her, please. Her words woke me up completely. But then I laughed. No, when she dies, maybe I'll come a laugh at the funeral. Linda froze, looking horrified. How can you? Leave. If you don't go, I'm calling the police for trespassing. Before Linda could react, I slammed the door shut. Knock again, and I'll sue you for harassment. Silence finally returned outside. I climbed back into bed and went to sleep. I thought after that, I wouldn't see Paige again. I didn't expect her to come looking for me. When I heard someone was here to discuss a partnership and pushed open the conference room door, I froze. What are you doing here? Paige looked pale and had lost a lot of weight. She tried to force the corners of her mouth into a smile, but it was strained. I'm here to discuss a partnership with your company. I looked down at the proposal in her hand and suddenly noticed her belly was flat. Remembering Linda's late-night visit about a potential miscarriage, I realized it was true, but I said nothing. Cause and effect. I spoke expressionlessly. Since when does Sterling Enterprises need the CEO herself to visit a broken-down little company like ours? The sarcasm in my voice was palpable. Paige couldn't maintain her fake smile. Suddenly, she started crying. Mason, I regret it. I just came to find you. She looked devastated, her voice choking. I was wrong before. I didn't see my own heart clearly. In the months since our divorce, I realized the person I've always loved is you. I haven't slept peacefully a single night. I miss you every moment. Mason, I love you. I can't live without you. Let's start over, okay? I looked at her with disdain. Did you lose your brain along with the pregnancy? You have a family and a marriage now. Saying these things makes it very easy for people to misunderstand me. No, he's not. The person in my heart has always been you. Paige walked toward me, hitting her chest with her hands, desperately trying to prove she was telling the truth. Mason, do you know? While you were gone, every item in the house felt familiar yet strange. Your shadow was in every corner, but I couldn't grasp you. I shook my head helplessly. Paige, you still don't know what you want. You say you see my shadow in every corner, but can't grasp it. That's because I used to run that home with my heart. Every item was placed, organized, and cleaned by my hands. What you're saying now just means you feel the lack of servant, someone to take care of you, clean up after you. If that's the case, I suggest you hire a housekeeper, not kidnap a man using the title of husband. What's going on? Hearing a voice, Paige and I turned toward the door. It was Tori. Mason, tell me, are you unwilling to come back to me because of her? Paige pointed a trembling finger at Tori, screaming hysterically like she'd lost her mind. Tori looked shocked for a moment, then burst out laughing. Paige, look at yourself. How did you let yourself get so pathetic? She walked over, draping an arm casually over my shoulder. If you really think we're a good match, Mason and I could give it a try. You bitch. Don't touch him. Paige lunged like a madwoman, circling the table to attack Tori. She raised her hand to strike, but I caught her wrist and shoved her away. Paige fell to the floor, looking up at me in disbelief. Mason, you pushed me for another woman? I closed my eyes, taking a deep breath to suppress the rising irritation. Leave. Don't make me call security to drag you out. Paige's face stiffened. She gritted her teeth and scrambled up. As she passed me, she glanced sideways. Mason, I know you mind Wes's existence. If it weren't for him, we wouldn't be here today. Don't worry. Once I deal with him, I'll come back to you clean and free. After she left, I heard Tori sigh. Damn, a perfectly good heiress turned into that wreck. She deserves it. She looked me up and down. What are you looking at? You think I'm actually interested in you? If you didn't have talent, I wouldn't have partnered with you. I smiled bitterly. Rich kids were unpredictable. I didn't take Paige's comment about dealing with Wes seriously. Until a month later, I had just arrived at the office entrance when a figure rushed out from the side and tackled me. I focused my eyes. It was Wes. But this Wes looked nothing like the man in my memories. The Wes I knew was always clean, dressed sharply, looking frail but pampered. The man in front of me wore filthy, tattered clothes. His face was grimy, something sticky matted his hair, and he was gaunt and dirty, looking exactly like a homeless beggar. He looked manic, straddling me, his hands choking my neck. "It's you. It's all you. You must have turned Paige against me. She doesn't love me anymore. She aborted my child, destroyed my chance to live, and kicked me out of the Sterling house. This is all because of you. Mason, even if I die, I'm taking you with me." Ha ha ha. Fortunately, the company security guards rushed up and pulled him off before I passed out. Wes was pinned to the side, still screaming insults at me. At that moment, Paige pushed through the crowd with bodyguards in tow. She looked at me, her face full of concern. "Are you okay?" I took a step back, creating distance. "I'm Fina. You should look at him." Paige rolled her eyes at Wes with utter disgust, then signaled the bodyguards behind her. "Take him." Wes was dragged away by two men and thrown directly into a van. "Don't mind him. His mental state has been poor lately. I'm planning to send him to a specialized facility." Hearing this, my heart went cold. I hadn't expected Paige's solution to be this cruel. Locking Wes in the house until he snapped, then committing him to a mental institution. I looked at her in horror, feeling like I was seeing her clearly for the first time. We had been husband and wife for 7 years, yet I never knew she could be this ruthless. To treat a former lover this way the moment love was gone. Paige seemed to read my thoughts. She quickly explained, "Mason, don't be afraid. I won't hurt you. Once he's committed, I'll file for divorce. Once I'm single, we could be together again. You wanted children, right? We'll have two. A boy and a girl. We'll be a family of 4, living our own lives, the happiest family in the world." I suddenly felt that it wasn't just Wes who was unstable. Paige was mentally unwell too. After she left, I immediately called Eleanor Sterling and told her what happened. On the phone, Eleanor wept heartbrokenly, promising she would take Paige to see a doctor. But that night, a massive fire broke out in our former home. Because it was a detached estate, no one noticed until the flames lit up half the sky. Despite fighting the fire all night, they couldn't save anyone. Paige and Wes both perished in the blaze. After an investigation, the authorities ruled it arson. I suspect Wes, having nothing left to lose, dragged Paige into the fire with him. I was deeply saddened by the result. Upon hearing the news of Paige's death, Eleanor collapsed and fainted. The old butler and the house staff handled the funeral. I went to send her off on her final journey, marking the complete end of our karma in this life. Leaving the cemetery, a light rain began to fall. I looked up at the sky and whispered, "Go on. I will take care of your mother." From then on, I treated Eleanor as my own mother. I cared for her diligently for 12 years until she passed away. In those 12 years, I met a new love, started a new family, and had children of my own. Eleanor was happy, treating my children like her own grandchildren. Before she died, she held my hand and wept, apologizing. In that moment, tears streamed down my face. I buried her next to Arthur. I sank to my knees and bowed my head 3 times before their graves. In this life, I had received the Sterling family's grace and suffered their insults. But after today, all debts of gratitude and grievances were settled. I would restart my life, beginning a new chapter. Epilogue. Paige Sterling. After I died, my soul didn't dissipate. Instead, it followed Mason. I watched him sigh helplessly, lamenting the impermanence of life. Beyond that, there was no sorrow in his eyes. In that moment, I knew for sure he truly didn't love me anymore. We knew each other for 11 years, married for 7. From the first time he saw me, I knew his heart moved for me. I had seen too many men look at me with lust in their eyes, but not him. His eyes held awe, appreciation, and a careful, tender adoration. At first, I didn't hate him. I knew a bit about his background, an orphan who climbed his way up step by step. For the sake of reputation, Sterling Enterprises sponsored hundreds of orphans over the decades. The cost was minimal, a few $1,000s a year, less than the cost of a single meal for us. So the company only did it for the image and never expected anything in return. My father told me this. He was a veteran of the business world, a master at reading people, far more experienced in manipulating human nature than I was. He said, "Sterling Enterprises has sponsored so many people, yet only he came to the door to repay us. The others either gave a verbal thanks or a letter and vanished. Some didn't even say thank you, taking our charity for granted. But he is different. So why do you think that is?" I shook my head and said I didn't know. Father chuckled. "Either he truly wants to thank us, or his ambitions are so vast that he must humble himself before he has the power." I nodded, understanding my father's meaning. Later, my father spent 4 years observing him and concluded, "He is the former." Father smiled and said he hadn't misjudged him. Mason was someone worth relying on. My father told me all this in his study when he asked me to marry Mason. Naturally, I trusted my father's vision and power. When I hesitated, Father said, marrying him doesn't necessarily mean loving him. Only by keeping him by your side can he be best used for your benefit. I thought about it carefully. It made sense. Later, we married, and not long after, my father passed away. I watched Mason. Although he was grieving, he remained calm and composed, systematically handling all the troubles and managing all the social obligations. Afterward, he said my father was the man who remade his life, and he had to be good to him to repay the Sterlings to protect the company. When he said this, his eyes were full of tears of gratitude, but I didn't dare look into his eyes. Because I knew the truth, it was all just my father's manipulation. Later, just as my father predicted, I didn't love him, but I exploited his value and utility to the maximum. Until Wes returned. I saw the hope of love again. When Mason found out about Wes and me, he was hurt, but he still said nothing. Later, Wes provoked him again and again. Mason brought me the evidence of Wes's taunts, asking why I treated him this way. I answered with self-righteousness, saying Wes was sick, that we just needed to keep his spirits up, that he shouldn't argue with a patient. After a few times, he stopped asking. Eventually, the doctor told me Wes could be saved, but he needed cord blood and marrow from a blood relative. After a brief hesitation, I agreed to save him. There were few people left who loved me. I couldn't let another one die. I knew I couldn't keep it a secret, but I didn't expect Mason to find out so quickly. He resolutely asked for a divorce. At first, I was disdainful. If he left me, where could he possibly go? But he blew things up, and to save the face of Sterling Enterprises, I compromised. The moment we walked out of the courthouse and I saw that genuine smile on his face, I realized he was serious. I was panicked, but I didn't dare admit it. It wasn't until he disappeared for 2 months that I belatedly realized how much my life changed without him. As time passed, I had to admit that he had long occupied a place in my heart. Indelible, irreplaceable, unique. Later, I saw him with someone better. I was jealous, envious. I wanted him back. I begged him, begged for his forgiveness, begged him to return. He rejected me expressionlessly, telling me I had a family and a partner, and not to create misunderstandings. I knew he was blaming me. I planned to get rid of Wes and then beg for his forgiveness again. I never imagined I would push Wes to the extreme. He lit a fire, burning all our gratitude and grievances, love and hate, into nothingness. Before we died, he held me, whispering in my ear like a demon, "Paige, we both sinned. We both have to pay the price. Don't think you can walk away clean." In that moment, I froze. He was right. I stopped struggling and embraced him tightly. Together, we were swallowed by the sea of fire, ending all these mistakes. Story complete.